Well, culture is a system of beliefs, of values, of attitudes and behaviors that give sense to people, and that give sense to people on how to deal with the world, basically. And it is like a tapestry of that covers people, you know, that gives them sustenance. So what we have here is one of the threads. If you pull out one of the threads, you are going to replace it with something else to sustain people. And also, this cover, this blanket, is very dear to people. It is rooted in tradition. It is rooted in emotion. Therefore, it's a precious cloth. I think that an openness and flexibility to hear, really making an effort to hear other people, and to understand, to be aware that culture is at the very bottom of it. We all share the same human culture, and that we all want to survive. And an openness and also a questioning of your own values is, I think that it is going to help to open up to other people, because when you exchange, when you have a dialogue with people, both of you are changed. It is not that I am going to impose my values on you, because that is no dialogue. It is that we are going to share the future together. And I think that that attitude is really important in establishing a connection with other cultures. That will open many roads in your own understanding of the world, because it is like a new window to how people see the world, and you can find a lot of useful things also on how to deal with your own problems. So the openness and the attitude is really important in this particular case, you know. Simpático attitude, I would say. It is important to have in the planning team representatives of the particular cultures you're trying to reach at from the very beginning. It's very important to have them to be listened and to listen what you're trying to say from the very beginning. What I would say is to try to plan and include in your budget resources for doing original materials for particular audiences, and to contact the best your budget can get of professional help in that. It really is cheaper, and it is much more cost-effective to go straight to original materials rather to translate, do a bad translation, go back and forth in terms of time and resources, and have it capsize. So I would, you know, also, if you definitely are going to translate materials, for example, contact the professionals, give them the points, the key points that you're trying to address, and let them interpret it for you. Do not try literal word-by-word translation. Word-by-word translation is really the worst road to take. The word-by-word translation doesn't take into account the structure of the language, and within that structure, the meaning of what you're trying to say. So, I mean, if you really don't understand the language, you have to get hold of somebody who does understand the nuances of the language, and and make an interpretation of what you're trying to say. Culture is learned, and education changes culture. But so by educating people in a way that is compatible with them, then you can change their culture in ways that are acceptable and that are profitable and that helps people to survive. So I don't think that there is such a thing as a fixed cultural value or practice that is not going to change unless it really threatens people's survival. And yet there are dear values to people because it's part of this cultural thread, this cultural weaving that they depend on to make sense of the world. And if you pull one of those out, then it is no. Okay. Let me give you some examples. Let me give you some examples about cultural values that differ, and that could be that could illustrate what differences are, for example, with Hispanic culture, and it is individualism that is so dear to the American culture versus family and group decisions. That is one of the most important values that are different for us, and how you approach a program or how you approach a message. If you don't include the family, you're going to be, if not stepping into problems, you are going to slant in a way that people are not going to really relate to it. Yes, there is concern among several people that the different groups, that Hispanics are so different one from another, and that the messages are not going to reach them. But although we are people from different races, from different social backgrounds, from different educational levels, we have a common language that is Spanish, and we all understand Spanish. Although there are some colloquialisms that different us and make it very, make it very intimate. But in general, we understand, the English language. It's like the English language is understood by Scots, by by Englishmen, by Irish people, by Americans in the North and the South. It's pretty much the same. And you can do generic materials for campaigns that are, let's say, countrywide. Of course, taking care of details in looks, in relationships, and making a clear point. But I think that you can do a generic product. Also, if you have a particular program that addresses problems for particular Hispanic groups, then you can tailor it locally with local resources and local channels, and they will do a very good job. I think that social marketing is a wonderful tool if used correctly. It's a tool for dialogue, and what it really comes down is a dialogue.